Hey guys, welcome to Truth Defined. Today we're going to be talking about something that sits at the center of almost every social problem we face. It's one of the least discussed, least understood issues in America. That's the collapse of the family, specifically the rise of fatherlessness. It's not a new topic, but it's one that's been avoided for decades because it makes people feel uncomfortable. Forces us to look past politics, past race, past slogans, deal with the uncomfortable reality that most of what we're fighting over in society traces back to what happens inside the home. When you really zoom out and look at the data, one trend stands out more than anything else. Since the 1960s, the American family has undergone one of the most dramatic shifts in modern history. Nowhere is that more visible than the Black community. In the early 1960s, roughly 78% of Black children were raised in two-parent households. By 2020, that number dropped to 38%. Today, about 70% of Black children are born outside marriage. For comparison, across all races, 1 in 4 children grow up without a biological father in the home. The Black community, that number is close to half. That's not just a cultural shift, that's a complete re-engineering of the foundation of family life in less than 70 years. The ripple effects of that change are visible in nearly every social outcome. Children raised without fathers, 5 times more likely to live in poverty, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up incarcerated. Right now, 85% of the youth in prison come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts, 63% of youth suicides come from that same fatherless background. These aren't partisan talking points. These are established statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau, okay? The Department of Justice, peer-reviewed studies. The pattern is consistent across race, class, geography. Fathers being absent is one of the strongest predictors of negative outcomes. It's only second to poverty itself, and they're really actually connected. So how did we get here? It wasn't random. The story of fatherlessness in America is about economic change, government policy, cultural transformation. And let me be quite frank, it was intentional. When the war on poverty began, the goal was to help families survive. Noble intention, but the way they designed these programs, it was designed with perverse intention. The more income a household earned, the less support it qualified for. So single mothers could receive more financial assistance if the father wasn't in the home. What this did is it punished marriage, rewarded single parenthood, and it was deeply consequential. So for the first time in American history, the government policy actually incentivized fathers being absent. Around that same time, economic foundations that supported the working class started to collapse. We saw what happened in Detroit. Manufacturing jobs that once gave these fathers employment were disappearing. Sociologist William Julius Wilson called this the disappearance of work. Men lost stable work, they lost their role as a father, their sense of worth, and their value to a family. Now, combine policy and economics colliding like that, it was devastating. Cost of living went up, families became fragile, and the father became irrelevant. By the 80s, you started to see it in the media, the glorification of independence. We talked about the strong single mother that don't need no man. It became romanticized as normal. Fathers were portrayed as toxic. They were portrayed as unnecessary. Um, a culture that lowered the bar from what we expected from men and what we expected from families. Children learn structure and discipline through authority, and they learn identity through example. When the example disappears, the effects multiply. In boys, fatherlessness leads to anger, it leads to confusion. Boys don't know what it means to be a man. You see higher rates of aggression, lower academic performance, and increased susceptibility to gangs. Now, the boys aren't bad, they're just looking for direction. They're looking to be led. Now, in girls, father's absence shows up far differently. It shows up as insecurity, low self-worth. Psychologists have linked higher rates of teenage pregnancy to absent fathers. What's lost in both cases is healthy love and leadership. So when we talk about fatherlessness, we're not talking about just the people, we're talking about the identity that comes with it. When a whole generation is disconnected from the pillar of the family, collapse follows. I don't want to blame single mothers. I know many single mothers doing amazing work. That doesn't change how the structure was built. A mother cannot replace the father in the same way a father can't replace a mother. Every major institution, from schools to welfare programs to criminal justice, it functions to kind of patch what's missing at home. We built an economy around managing the consequences of family collapse rather than addressing the collapse itself. So that's why this issue is not just economic, it's political. And we got to ask the question, where do we go from here? I think first we have to be honest about what's broken. We got to name what is broken if we're going to fix it. We can't stop treating the decline of the family like it's just a lifestyle choice when it's really an emergency. And then politically, we need policies that stop penalizing families. Welfare should encourage stability. We cannot continue to incentivize broken families and fatherlessness. Third, we need mentorship, we need community involvement. So, obviously, not every child is going to grow up with a father, but through churches, schools, local organizations, male role models need to step in and be leaders to our young men. And fourth, we have to rebuild the culture of respect for fatherhood. So, masculinity isn't a problem, it's immature masculinity, which actually is what is bred out of fatherlessness. Real manhood is service and sacrifice. Finally, we have to rebuild the idea that family is sacred, not religiously, but just socially as a system that is created within society. Um, the schools, the governments, economy, all weaken when the families weaken. Every major civilization that lost its family structure eventually lost stability. If we want to rebuild our communities, we need to start where they begin, at home. The truth is simple. No policy, politician, no budget can replace a father in the home. If we want stronger kids and we want safer streets, healthier communities, we got to rebuild the family. If we can't protect and preserve the structure that raises the next generation, nothing will fix that matter. This is truth defined. I'm Seth Phillips. Thanks for listening.